Newcastle Harbour has long featured the sights and sounds of shipbuilding. This slipway in Carrington, an important part of that history, is now set to reopen after an 18-month closure. Thales Australia today announced a 15-year lease with the Port of Newcastle.
We created this facility for the construction of the mine hunters starting back in 1994, and very much we're going full circle now and coming back to the facility that we created.
The company will invest $6 million in reactivating and redeveloping the facility in partnership with the state government. Deputy Premier John Barilaro hit Newcastle to inspect the site.
It's making sure that we continue to support a company that is so locked into this region.
The move will allow the port to handle bigger ships and ensure naval maintenance jobs remain in the Hunter.
Four Jacks departed the site at the end of 2015 and with that, it left a void in the industry for small to medium-sized boat building and commercial ship repairs and potentially other Defence Force type contracts.
The redevelopment promises to create around 70 new full-time jobs, with the potential to grow if further upgrades go ahead.
The first phase is the focus right now, and that's the small ship commercial repair facility. And then we'll look at other opportunities as they become available and other contracts as they become available as well.
The upgrade is expected to commence within the next 3 months. Talia Sav, NBN News.
%100 of those funds will go to regional New South Wales, regional cities like here in the Newcastle area and the broader Hunter region.
Hoping to translate research into treatment. Assistant Minister for Health David Gillespie hit Newcastle today to announce Australia's first Centre of Innovation in Regional Health, a collaboration of key groups given national accreditation.
Means it's now eligible, apart from their initial seeding grant, to get further funds to do translational research out of the Medical Research Future Fund.
The body will be made up of 8 partners: local health districts, universities, the Cavalry Martyr Hospital, the Primary Health Network and HMRI. Together, they're expected to have more influence in medical research and treatment in regional Australia.
Ultimately, we can actually start to bring more of the research and innovation to the bedside and improve the health outcomes and clinical outcomes for our patients in our community.
The Minister also formally committed a $5 million grant for the Hunter Institute of Mental Health in collaboration with the Black Dog Institute to improve the effectiveness of treatment.
Upskilling, skills development, lifting the lid on treatment, improving access, but innovative programs to help people self-treat themselves.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
Support scholarships at the University of Newcastle for the Indigenous students and also for University of Newcastle's research into the healthcare needs of the Indigenous community.
The Knights have long had a strong connection to the mining industry, but the Voice for Mining Day has grown that into something more.
It's become a significant community event. You know, it's more than just a marquee game for us. It's a great case study of what sports partnerships can deliver back to a community.
It's the type of community partnership that I think a lot of other NRL clubs would love to have.
The partnership with the New South Wales Minerals Council is understood to be a lucrative one for the club. On the field, the players will don their workwear-style jerseys again this week, while the Knights have handed out more than 5,000 free tickets to miners and their families. Outside the stadium, a fan zone will have the industry's technologies on show.
When we started this partnership with the Knights 5 years ago, the industry was going through some pretty tough times, and it was important back then to give Hunter mining families something to cheer for. The industry is in better shape now than it has been in recent years. There is a lot more hope and optimism across the Hunter and across New South Wales, particularly for our coal miners.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
He's had a great career. I mean, he's he's one of those players that wasn't super talented at a young age, but he always worked pretty hard. It's important for young players to understand that you don't have to be the most talented if you keep working hard and you keep chipping away and you keep giving your all. That'll be recognised, particularly here in Newcastle, our club.
The Jets haven't won a game in the FFA Cup, losing twice to Perth and then to the Victory in 2016. This afternoon they drew their first away trip to face Adelaide.
They will be hosting the Newcastle Jets, who haven't made it past the round of 32, but maybe Ernie Merrick can perhaps sprinkle some magic.
Edgeworth is the Hunters' most successful Cup club after becoming our first team to advance to the round of 16 last year. This time, it'll face a powerhouse Victorian outfit.
Away trip for us. I don't think any of the boys are going to be too disappointed with that. South Melbourne, they're a good team. I think they're on top down there in Victoria. Bentley, we played them last year. They're on top as well. So it'll be a good competitive match. Looking forward to it.
Heading into their third straight round of 32, the Eagles are as motivated as ever.
The most important aspect of our footballing calendar is the FFA Cup. We want to do well. It's great for Northern football. And it's just good to bring resources back into the club.
Broadmeadow is excited about its trip north of the border.
In the NPL, you don't really get an away day. It's only a 20-minute drive down the highway or something like that. But no, it's good. It's good to spend time with the boys. It'll be a bonding, and hopefully we can go and win.
Having returned to the NPL with the Magic after being released by the Glory, the game represents a great chance for Mitch Oxborough to again showcase his talent on the national stage.
If you can get into it, like I said, it's massive for the club and it's massive for individuals as well, because players can get picked up.
The round of 32 games will be played over 3 weeks, starting at the end of next month.
His axing 8 weeks ago came as a shock, but Trent Hodkinson has handed his demotion to reserve grade with class. Speaking to NBN News last week, the former Origin half felt he was rediscovering his best.
I'm not kicking stones about it. I'm staying positive and I've got to do the right things. Thought I've put together some good footy, and it's out of my hands whether I'm back up there or not. I just got to keep ticking the boxes.
Hodkinson's perseverance looks like it has been rewarded, with reports he will return to the NRL side in place of Brock Lamb. That's despite coach Nathan Brown only this afternoon expressing confidence in his young halves pairing.
They're always everyone's go-to with the halves, but it's hard just to single them out, if that makes sense. Could they have done a little better in periods of the game? Of course they could have, but when you're scoring 28, I think anyone's pretty happy with your halves contribution. I think just as a collective, we all need to get better.
The talk comes after the side just couldn't close out the game against the Dragons.
I reckon last week was the most disappointed I've seen the guys since I've been here. It's definitely up there, the couple of most disappointing ones for me.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
It may seem quiet now, but the Newcastle Family Court is struggling. New data today confirms the 2 presiding judges inside are overworked and understaffed. The Attorney-General, George Brandis, yet to appoint a 3rd judge in Newcastle after nearly 4 months of searching.
Even if all our wishes came true and we had a judge appointed tomorrow, there would still be a backlog.
That backlog is a 2-year waiting list and growing. Mark Dreyfus not wasting time in pointing the finger.
This is a scandalous failure on the part of the Attorney-General.
The new data shows the 2 family court judges here in Newcastle have seen on average 770 matters each over the past 12 months. That's more than double the national average of 376. Even if a replacement is found, the Shadow Attorney-General says it might not be enough.
Even if there were 3 judges, the full complement, you'd still have those judges with an average of over 500 cases each. This is a registry of the Federal Circuit Court which is stretched to the limit.
In a letter to the member for Newcastle, Attorney-General George Brandis says the replacement remains under active consideration. His counterpart doesn't buy it.
Well, I'd have to say this is an Attorney-General, George Brandis, whose definition of the word active is very different to most people's.
Alex Heinke, NBN News.
Learning with a view. From Merriweather to the Harbour, the executive level of the University of Newcastle's new campus boasts a panoramic outlook of the city. It's not only the view that has people talking, but also its unique design.
That brings with it some challenges, but we wanted to make a real statement with this building in the city and start a conversation with the community. I think we've done that through the design.
Today, all of the uni's staff got to inspect inside, but from Monday, 320 staff from the Faculty of Business and Law, as well as the new School of Creative Industries, will move in.
I've been working in University House while the construction's been going on, so this is like my reward at the end, so I'm really excited to be moving over.
The staff lounge, one of the highlights, with an adjoining outdoor urban room. The new teaching spaces, also an attraction.
The technology-enabled learning is going to also transform the way we teach, and hopefully students will appreciate that, engage with the teaching spaces.
Or staff will get to use the facility from Monday. It won't be long until students arrive. Classes begin on July 24. Up to 3,000 students will study at New Space. As for how everyone will get there, the uni is strongly encouraging public transport and cycling.
We hope to see that full, those 215 bike spaces full all the time, and people making use of that active travel.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
Modern urban living meets active waterfront lifestyle. It's the pitch being made to buyers for Newcastle's first bicycle-friendly development, Velocity.
It's quite unique in the fact that it's designed to house bicycles within the house, additional bicycle parking on the site, and to capitalise on a wonderful opportunity of being located right on Newcastle's cycleway network.
Construction of the 2-storey townhouses along Throsby Creek is expected to commence within the next 2 months. Development manager Peter Child says the project could set a housing trend in the Hunter.
Wickham, Maryville and Carrington already have 3 times the cycleway commute to work than the rest of Newcastle, so we think that's going to grow with developments like this.
The development is on the old Hunter Research Foundation site and will be broken up into 3 main segments.
That'll allow cyclists and walkers alike to traverse across the site and connect the existing cycleway that flanks the edge of the site.
But these tailor-made townhouses don't come too cheap, with price tags between $795,000 and $1.2 million. Talia Sav, NBN News.
The first state government-operated buses began running on the streets of Newcastle in 1935, double-deckers running alongside trams before gradually replacing them.
The trams are the target for much adverse criticism and, as an experiment, are being replaced entirely by buses on selected routes.
Fast forward 82 years, and the city's transport is about to be streamlined under a private operator. The move was announced back in November 2015.
We will have one operator connecting Newcastle to run light rail, the buses, the ferry service and the interchanges.
Then Premier Mike Baird faced angry backlash from the unions. But it forged ahead with its plans, later awarding the 10-year contract to Keolis Downer starting tomorrow. It says there'll be no changes to timetables this year, but from 2018 there'll be more frequent services and better connections.
The roars of fighter aircraft echo at daybreak. A simulated fight between Newcastle and Amberley, all part of a dawn strike on RAF Base Williamtown. It marks the final mission of the Air Warfare Centre's Air Warfare Instructor Course.
They were fighting together this morning as a large formations of 16 to 20 aircraft, all on the one side, totally coordinated to defeat the enemy.
30 Hornets, 2 Hawk fighters, a C-130 aircraft and this E-7A Wedgetail. Their personnel returning to Williamtown after 3 weeks in Darwin, where pilots undertook complex warfighting as part of Exercise Diamond Storm.
It's actually F-18 pilots learning about C-130s and the E-7, learning what our airborne and ground-based radar controllers can do.
The Warfare Instructor Course is one of the most challenging courses in the Air Force, first starting back in 1954.
This course is the culmination and evolution of actually 50 years of what started as a fighter combat instructors course. Now we have a very broad membership that we're taking to the highest levels of combat exposure.
But as for today's final test, it seems the graduates were successful in impressing their seniors.
I think they've passed, yes, absolutely.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
They're flying high on top of the NHRU ladder, but the Hamilton Hawks have a warning for the rest of the comp.
I feel we've still got some improving to do, and we probably haven't hit our straps fully yet, so it's a good position to be in, that's for sure.
New players, injuries and rep duties hampered the side in the early rounds, but they're still undefeated. Tomorrow they face 9th placed Merewether, whose finals aspirations are truly on the line.
Them and Wanderers are probably one of the best at countering and turning your mistakes into tries, so yeah, they've definitely got some strike players.
It's a huge fixture for the Greens. The Wanderers are hosting Maitland in another crucial clash, 2nd versus 4th. They're being pushed harder than in their past 2 consecutive premierships, but Edgeworth say they still have room to improve in the NPL.
Boys are starting to get that match fitness back, get a bit sharper, finding relationships between each other, and results are starting to come pretty thick and fast now, so we'll be good for the run home.
It's a 3-way tussle for first place. Edgeworth hosts Maitland on Sunday. They also welcome back Keanu Moore to the club. And South's premiership defence in Newcastle Rugby League is gathering momentum. That was until this weekend. Their game against Cessnock has been rescheduled due to the unplayable state of Townsend Oval, bringing a 3-game winning run to a halt. West versus Curry has also been pushed back.
I don't know if it's been positive or not, having the break. Probably would have liked it towards the back end of the year, heading into finals, but I guess we'll take it.
Ryan Glanville has played plenty of footy, the son of Knights great Mark. It's his first year in South's top side after playing in the Knights junior system.
You're more with your mates and everything's a little bit more enjoyable. Probably not as serious to some degree, but we started off a bit slow and now we're just finding our feet, so hopefully we can continue our momentum.
Souths are now in a share of 4th. After West, who are now 2 wins clear, it's still a tight ladder.
Didn't hit it as good as I did yesterday, but made up for it on the greens. So I'll go hit some balls now and straighten it out and come back again tomorrow.
It's the first race where we're actually making some tactical changes to the plane. So we've put some surfaces on the wing to make it grip a little bit better, sort of like having better tyres on a race car. And we're doing some work with the engine and the prop. So it's all looking pretty good.
You've probably walked past this historic structure but never noticed it. It did, however, manage to catch the eye of Iris Capital, the Sydney developers who bought the old David Jones building further down the mall. They've started redeveloping the 110-year-old building, with the plans including an open ground floor and cafe area. Above is 2 levels of commercial space, while the higher floors will be units, including a penthouse.
It's a tricky build because it's a tight little site. There's not a lot of access. We've got to be really sensitive with that existing fabric of the building. It's a really unique building.
The upgrades are the start of a broader plan. It's the first of many redevelopments in the mall.
We did a lot of analysis on the history of the existing building. It has changed and been added to over time as well, early in the 1900s. So a lot of investigation went into that, and that was part of the planning process.
The build is expected to take just over a year. Alex Heinke, NBN News. They aren't the battle-hardened veterans we often associate with Australia's war efforts, but it didn't make today's celebrations less important. It's the 19th Reserves Forces Day, honouring civilian men and women who assisted the military.
Publicly give thanks and recognise the efforts that reservists have done to make their contribution to the defence of Australia, whilst they've also at the same time maintaining a civilian job or studies and family commitments.
A march was followed by a service at the Cenotaph with messages read out from the New South Wales Premier, the Governor-General and the Prime Minister. It's a relatively new tradition that never intended to become a tradition at all.
In 1998 it was going to be a one-off just to mark the 50th anniversary, and it was so successful that the powers that be said they'd endorse it as an annual event.
Like most military celebrations, the Lord Mayor was on hand to welcome the troops.
We have a very long history here with the Armed Forces in Newcastle, but also a very long history with the reserved Armed Forces that have often gone to war on behalf of all citizens.
Alex Heinke, NBN News.
It's seen as the Taj Mahal of men's sheds, spacious, shiny and impressive. Hundreds gathering today at the new Raymond Terrace Digs for its official opening.
We have a few envious men's sheds here today. They're looking through and they're saying, well, how did you get this? And I said, well, a lot of hard work, that's how we got it.
The purpose-built shed has been in the centre of a battle between local council and community campaigners since early last year, as several trees were moved as part of its development. Members today revealing one of their newest projects.
With council, we've supported the replanting of quite a number of trees. I think there's about 18 odd extra trees that were put in Boomerang Park as in placement of the ones that were pulled down.
But the shed marks just the beginning of the park's overhaul. Port Stephens Council is working towards transforming the area into the centrepiece of town.
We're building a new skate park here. We're building a croquet court here. So it's going to be used by young people, by older people in the men's shed, the pensioner centres there.
Mayor Bruce McKenzie defending council's development of Boomerang Park.
I've been coming here since late 40s to Boomerang Park. I've never seen it used hardly. They used to have a cricket pitch up the top and a tennis court. Other than that, nothing happens.
Work will commence on the croquet court within the next 3 weeks. Talia Sarv, NBN News.
Oh mate, I'm sure he's chopping at the bit. Hock at his best, he's an Origin match winner. He's that type of bloke that he knows how to finish games off, and he's certainly someone that we're going to rely on heavily in the next 10 weeks.
Former Maitland Black turned Wanderer 2 Blue Josh McCormick had a point to prove, coming up against his old teammates for the first time. After a tight first half, the Wanderers resumed with a 10-8 lead, and it didn't take long for them to stretch it even further. It took a Wanderers mistake to break the game wide open, Maitland countering well. After a mountain of possession, the visitors went over again, Jonathan Maloney putting the Blacks in front. It was short-lived though, the two Blues striking back to make it 20-all after this solo effort from Dylan Rowney. From there, tempers boiled over and a Luke Simmons penalty gave the Wanderers the lead, but the Blacks weren't giving up, winning 2 tight-head scrums and turning down chances to level. But time was against them. The Wanderers holding on 23-20 winners, with McCormick having the last laugh. Meanwhile, table toppers Hamilton had 2 yellow cards in the first half, and Merriweather took advantage, scoring first. The Hawks clawed things back to go into the sheds 17-15 up at half-time. It was still tight in the second half, but Hamilton proved why they sit on top of the ladder, winning 36-27. Alex Heinke, NBN News.
Lambton are the ladder leaders, but with Lake Macquarie fighting for their season, it was a danger match for the Jaffers, and the battling Roosters almost claimed a surprise early lead, a pinpoint ball and well-taken finish, only to be somehow denied by Liam O'Dell. Nick Thompson was forced off soon after, and that's when the game began to unravel for Lake Macquarie. Chances opened up, and Joel Griffiths certainly isn't one who needs an invitation. Ryan Griffiths was just as dangerous, but somehow denied by Kane Runge. Although there was nothing he could do about the next corner, Nathan Verity making it 2-0. The second half brought no relief for the Roosters, simply out of answers to contain Lambton's dynamic attack. It wasn't all one-way traffic. Lake Macquarie did eventually get on the scoreboard, but it didn't change the result. The Jaffers staying on top, while the Roosters' slim finals hopes are all but over. Hamilton held on to fourth thanks to a late Reece Cooper strike, sealing the come-from-behind win. While Valentine capitulated, conceding 4 in the second half at Adamstown. They're now at risk of slipping to third.
Back from the brink, Murray's Brewery isn't just surviving, it's thriving.
Thankfully, business is booming. We're up 25% year on year.
A feat for any firm, let alone one which was devastated by fire less than a year ago. Brought to its knees by last October's blaze, Murray's Brewery has risen again, helped to its feet by a trend towards local craft beer.
Local products, people are interested in where their food comes from, where their beer's made, and that's a really strong story, I think, for regional economies.
Now, an estimated 7,000 people visit the brewery each month, streaming through the doors into the temporary cellar door and tasting room. Almost 12 months on from the fire, Murray's Brewery is not only rebuilding but expanding, as well as replacing the damaged cellar door. There'll also be a new distillery built by the end of the year.
We'll be making craft spirits as well as craft beer, so handmade in the Hunter and Port Stephens.
And while the region is enjoying a tourism boom from Asia and day trippers, the Port Stephens community remains one of the brewery's strongest supporters.
We're the real star story of the beer industry.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
You wouldn't blame Damien Jobson for being resentful or angry, but a year after suffering a life-changing spinal injury while playing for the Windale Eagles rugby league team, the father of three is nothing short of inspirational.
I wouldn't really wish it upon anyone what I've gone through and what the family's gone through. It's been hard with the kids and the wife.
Damien and his young family have had to move house to a more accessible one in Macquarie Hills. It's been modified with new ramps, wide doorways and equipment to help him with daily activities. This state-of-the-art bed hoist helps him get up in the morning, a process that takes 2 hours. But at the end of the day, it's Damien's family that gets him through.
Hopefully to be able to feed myself one day would be an awesome thing. And even just to be able to cuddle my wife and my kids, would be a great achievement. I'd like to say it would be possible, but I kind of don't think it will be. But you gotta try. If you don't try, well, you don't get anywhere.
His brother-in-law, David, has helped organise a fundraiser to help the family into the future. It's a real community effort with donated prizes, including a $150,000 motorhome.
3 massive prizes, and we're hoping to obviously get a huge amount of success with ticket sales to make it a successful campaign.
For more information, head to our website. Alex Heinke, NBN News.
The Tigers came into the game on the back of 7 straight losses, but quickly set about ending that streak. Former Knight Kevin Nagama bombed a try, and the Tigers' next effort was even worse. But it wasn't long before Jacob Little found a way through. Nagama made up for his mistake, finishing off a smooth backline move. The Knights were fumbling their way to the break, and the officials weren't doing them any favours. Newcastle started positively in the second half with Danny Levi centimetres away from scoring, but the visitors weren't done yet. Down 24-0, Lachlan Fitzgibbon gave the Knights a lift. Dane Gagai was unlucky to lose possession from the restart when the officials found a knock-on, but the Queensland rep bounced back, setting up Newcastle's second. That was as close as the Knights got. Luke Brooks made it a 13-point margin. He was coat-hangered by Mitch Barnett, who ended up on report, but Brooks had the perfect response.
The last time Central and Lakes met was back in round 2, with the Butcher boys winning easily. Today, the Seagulls were out for revenge and were first on the scoreboard. Nothing was going right for Central. This deflection made matters worse. The Seagulls went in again, with the lead stretching to 18. Central managed to hit back, Steve Gordon jumping on a well-weighted grubber. Jake Mason closed the gap further. But a Lakes penalty meant they went into the sheds with a 20-10 lead. Only a minute into the second half, Central crossed in the corner, but the Seagulls responded. And while the Butcher Boys would have gone the length of the field if not for this incredible try saver, they still went over seconds later. Dan Metcalf didn't help the comeback when he was sent to the bin, and Jacob Gagai made Central pay. That's how it ended, Lakes upsetting the Butcher Boys by 12. Alex Heinke, NBN News.
The Blues sat further down the ladder than Broadmeadow, but the visitors had the best early chances. Reen Ferguson went close more than once. Instead, it was the Magic that hit the front thanks to James Virgili. Defender Josh Piddington almost made it 2-0, but Nathan Archbold kept him at bay. Virgili was at it again after the break. Archbold had his measure too. Dino Fajovic had 2 chances to add to Broadmeadow's tally, but the keeper was standing tall. John Griffiths went even closer when he hit the woodwork. The Magic went down to 10 men when Scott Robinson was sent off. The Blues had a chance to level the scores with a scramble in the box, but Broadmeadow killed off the contest as Cale Bradbury and Mitch Oxborough combined. At East Maitland, Edgeworth snatched 3 points against the Magpies thanks to a Wilbauer goal in stoppage time.
"12:22 p.m. Saturday. He strolls casually past the Beaumont Street news agency, glances in, then doubles back and seizes an opportunity. And he's gone, the robbery all over in a matter of seconds.
Times are tough, but it's a low act.
Robert Burton's business has been collecting for the John Hunter Children's Hospital for the past 8 years. He says he's sickened someone would steal from it.
He must have cased the place for a while, a couple of weeks even, until he felt how full it was getting, and when it was right and the staff member wasn't there and he was walking by, he just pulled out his bag and put it in.
The fundraising tin was nearly full. Robert estimates it contained around $240. It may not be a large amount of money, but they're all valuable dollars.
They'll send another tin, but I'll have a chain on it, and I really recommend that everybody put a chain on your charity tins.
Police are investigating and say if anyone recognises the man, they should call Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
Proudly wearing red, black and yellow, more than 300 people braved the chilly morning air, gathering at Gregson Park.
It seems to be like a cultural meeting in some way or another, you know.
A flag-raising ceremony marked the start of NAIDOC Week celebrations, followed by a march through Hamilton, celebrating the history and achievements of the traditional owners of the land.
We've survived everything against all odds, and we're still proud to be Aboriginal.
The week is also a chance to share Indigenous culture with the wider community.
Show some support and some understanding.
It's the most brilliant opportunity to celebrate 60,000 years, at least 60,000 years of the world's most resilient and amazing culture ever.
The theme of NAIDOC Week this year, Our Languages Matter, celebrating the role 120 Indigenous tongues have played in cultural identity. There's hope the languages, which are at risk of being lost, will soon be taught in schools alongside the likes of French and Japanese.
It's not far away. We are pushing. The difficult thing is trying to shift the mind frame of an ageing Department of Education, which is very much stuck in its curriculum.
Pouring into Smith Park at Hamilton North, NAIDOC Week activities continued throughout the day, celebrating and recognising our oldest culture. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News. Cafes are buzzing, packed with patrons in brightly coloured tracksuits. That can only mean one thing. Newcastle is again hosting the University Games. Local hotels and hostels are also booked up with athletes and officials.
At minimum $1.4 million into our local economy from having these 2,500 students here for the week, playing sports, socialising. They've got support crews.
Brings a lot of rivalry and camaraderie. And yeah, definitely a lot of students who are in for a good time.
Plenty of passion and team spirit too at the hockey. While it's serious stuff on the field, there are sideline antics with students dressed up and vocal. And don't take your eye off your beloved mascot like CSU's totem, or this could happen. 17 sports are being played in Newcastle, Maitland and at Lake Macquarie. It's a qualifying competition for the 2017 Australian University Games. Among Newcastle's strongest teams, women's basketball, women's football, which includes Jets players, and the men's hockey squad.
We're really looking forward to a Newcastle versus UTS showdown in the netball. UTS has had the wood over everybody in netball for a long time, and we think we've finally got the squad together to break our 20-year drought.
The gold medal matches will be held on Thursday. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
We're always changing, so yes, there will be changes on the plane, no doubt about that. As I've said, this year is for us is about getting the plane by the end of the year set up so that it can win races.
It was the game the Knights were supposed to win, but the Tigers tore them to shreds.
Everyone's hurting this morning, everyone was hurting last night after the game. Everyone involved with the club, whether that's members, supporters, players, administration, we're all disappointed with the performance yesterday.
Hurting even more than the loss was the reaction of the Knights faithful.
Hearing little girls wearing Knights jerseys, saying we're losers, and parents saying how much they've spent to bring their kids in to come and watch us.
Fans weren't the only ones blowing up. Danny Levi made his feelings known after weak defence allowed his opposite number, Jacob Little, to cross the line.
He's another hooker. I'm a hooker, so
it's not always fun when you see opposite score. We talked it up all week, him close to the line, and so it was a bit of a letdown that we let him get through.
With the prospect of a wooden spoon hat-trick looming large, the Knights must now regroup in time for Sunday's game against the Bulldogs. Their focus, shutting down energetic half Josh Reynolds.
He's probably their spark in their team. They all drive and rive off his energy. So if we can do the job on Josh Reynolds, we could definitely give ourselves a big chance to winning.
Alex Heinke, NBN News.
If there's something on the line, regardless of the 3 points, you always want to win, so that would be a nice little touch on top as well.
It's always good to go to Magic and get a win, especially in front of their crowd.